Welcome to the Pull the Chute podcast with Jeff and Jana. This is our weekly venture into the world of small to medium-sized businesses and the entrepreneurial spirit that drives success.
So our goal here is to help you grow and to be the best you can be, both in business and personally. To do that, we identify and we discuss topics that will hopefully help you as you work to build a successful business.
We also interview business owners and executives. It's our hope that you may be able to gain insight on ways to help you be a better leader and provide a better culture for your people.
Our mission here is to help you pull the chute once a week to work on your business instead of always working in your business.
So we hope you find these discussions insightful, helpful, and useful.
And thanks for your support. We hope you enjoy today's podcast.
Well, welcome everyone to the Pull the Chute podcast with Jeff and Jana. We are so excited that you're here today. What an amazing week that we're having here in the Nashville area. The weather has finally changed. It's warming up. I can't wait for spring to get here. Hey, Jana, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Just loving life.
We're gonna get some rain though, Jeff. I think we're getting a little bit of rain today.
Well, we're still fighting that drought that came through, right? So at least we're not getting fed like the fire hose on the West Coast over there. They're just continually getting fed with a bunch of rain. So it's great. Hey, Jana, we have a really fun guest today. We have Dr. Ron Stotts with us today. And he's an author of 3 books and really big into something that's near and dear to my heart, which is leadership. So I'm excited to be talking to Ron today. Dr. Ron, do you go like Dr. Ron or just Ron? But welcome to the show.
Okay. Yeah, no, Ron is fine.
All right, good.
Sometimes my friends, because I have 2 doctorates, they go doctor, but that's just
doctor. Give me the news. I got sorry.
So let's start there. What are the doctorates in?
Oh, I have a PhD in psychology and I'm a doctor of chiropractic.
Oh, very
I'm kind of the old mind, body, spirit guy.
There you go.
Taught meditation for decades.
I love it.
That kind of thing.
That is so good. So good. Hey, so Ron, do me a favor. We always like to do this with our guests is just tell our listeners a little bit about you and how you got to where you're at today.
Well, it's been quite an eclectic journey, I must say. But I would say, I got into education and I was quite successful at it and developing learning programs, and they wanted to know what I was doing. Of course, I had no idea because it was all intuitive. So I went back to school to get a PhD in psychology of learning, and that opened up the whole world of personal development and growth. And as I got into that, I just had the opportunity to work with some pretty amazing people, Buckminster Fuller, Joseph Campbell, and other mentors that I've had. And
Great.
And so I just, I didn't ever go back into the academic environment. I just started moving into personal development, and that led me, I got a job. My spiritual teacher had moved to LA and asked me to come up there and help create a community. And so I left my position as co-director of the Brain Integration Center in San Diego and moved up there and
wow.
Got a job as executive vice president of Inner Game Corporation. I don't know whether you ever remember Inner Game of tennis, Inner Game of skiing.
Yes,
were
I do.
Big popular book. So I ran that corporation, and we managed helped AT&T go through their divestiture back in the 80s. So my job was to really travel the U.S. and meet with all the different levels of leaders and managers and come up with the programs to help them shift from the monopoly to a for-profit organizations. And so
that had to be a lot of mental games with these guys just to change their mental process.
Yes. That psychology degree came in handy, right?
It did. Yeah, it was so funny because we'd be, in the day we'd be meetings and doing all the business stuff, but in the evening, lots of times we'd have dinner and we get into these very deep and interesting conversations. And so,
I bet.
Yeah, and so I think I really was able to connect with them in a lot of ways. And
that's amazing.
I remember I was sitting with the top 3 guys at the time who ran AT&T, and but it's about 7-8 months in, they go, so you've been doing all this work and you've been creating programs, so give us a synopsis of who we are, what we're doing. And I said, well, and I had had a drink, and I don't drink much, so I might have been a little looser than I would have cautiously been. But I just sort of explained to them that they were kind of like, the Johnson family. These guys were dad, and they were kind of dictating and controlling everything, and the managers were sort of mom, and then the employees were the kids. And what the reason I really shared that with them is because I wanted them to really see that the changes that they were looking for in their employees and managers really had to be stimulated by them.
Mm-hmm.
They had to let go of their old controlling dominant style, because one thing I saw was in all my interviewing with different leaders throughout the organization was there was all these kind of urban stories about, oh, well, Joe, he tried this new idea and, it didn't work. So 20 years later, he's still suffering from that, bold move of stepping outside of the box. And it was really a very closed, limited, just put your head down, get your retirement and don't think about anything. And of course, now going into five different companies that had to really compete, they
Mm-hmm.
had to get out of that old mentality. And
Yep.
that was really watching leaders. I'd had a privilege of watching different leaders. It all seemed to me like they were just very ego-centered, and the companies were nothing but a reflection of their egos and their needs and their inadequacies and all of that. And everybody just sort of had to get along with it. And I also saw that, as I saw it in spiritual teachers, I saw it in business leaders. They would go up to a certain point, and they kind of felt stuck or in stasis of some kind, and couldn't make a shift. And I began to really look deeper into that. And every time, literally across the board, and it was not popular at the time to acknowledge that, but it was really their childhood issues that they hadn't healed that were
Really?
coming up, their control issues, their fear issues, their lack of acceptance, or whatever, however it was being played out. And so I did, I have to say, the AT&T thing, I really moved away from working in the corporate
Mm-hmm.
world because of that. They watered down everything we did so much that it really became ineffective.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
and I, but now we're moving into a time where leadership is really having to make that change. You were talking about your book, and it
Yeah.
really, we are in a time where really there's hope that people, the most successful leaders, and all the research shows it in the leadership research in the last 50 years, that the more conscious leaders are really the more successful leaders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, other people won't make money, but it means they're certainly not going to have the ease and comfort that their more conscious brethren or sisters are doing it with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's funny.
I think we're in a time where, when I look at top level leaders, which is really what, that's my capability, and that my unique ability is to really move people into those highest levels of leadership. And what they really are is they're just more conscious people. And
Mm-hmm.
so my work, and probably your own, is really more about helping them become more self-aware, emotionally intelligent,
Yep.
sensitive to others, and really begin to create a more conscious and caring space to be working from, making meaning out of the organization. Making it meaningful to not only to what they're doing in society, but to really to their employees and themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
It's interesting what you just said. A lot of that resonates so hard. My corporate career started at Harris Bank back in the 80s.
mhm,
And it
mhm,
was just as you described. You came to work, you put your head down, you did your job, you went home, you got a paycheck, and you didn't step out of that box.
Mm-hmm.
right,
Right?
right,
The fortunate part for me was I had a mentor, a woman in that time as well. That
uh-huh,
was my section boss who stepped out of that box and who saw some talent in what I could do and really helped me. I got into computers back then and everything else. And so we ended up automating the trust fee department back then, way beyond its time, outside
right,
of the bank's computer department, which was really even more amazing. Um, but she was just amazing. And what she did was she allowed people to take their talents and grow those, and she encouraged those to be grown. Right. So to me, she was way ahead of her time. I love to give her kudos, Wendy Bailey. She was my
Right.
mentor, and she just, I kind of faction a lot of things that I do after what she did, but she again was so far ahead of her time, and at the time I didn't realize it. But now you look
Right.
back and you go, oh my gosh, this is where we're at, right?
Yeah.
We're in
Yeah.
this place where, yes, the new leadership really is all, and I call it true leadership, is really all about guidance and support and appreciation and
Yeah.
building teams and letting go.
Right.
Someone just said to me on another podcast, what is true leadership? And I said, it's that ability to stand shoulder to shoulder with your team and ask them what they need to do their job. And then if it's within reason, get it for them.
Mhm.
And the ability, so when something goes wrong, you take the blame. And when something goes right, you give the praise.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not
Yeah.
about you. That's the big one, right? It's not about you. It's
Yeah.
about them. And that's
And
hard for
and
people
that's
to deal with.
yeah. Well, and that's the essence. And I imagine you're do this, that's where that when people come to me and they tell me their biggest challenge and what they really want and that type of thing, and they're successful high level leaders. It always, what I'm really exploring, what I really go to the depth of is really what's behind their biggest challenge. And it's always personal. It's always stems
Mhm.
from childhood issues. So the first part of my program is really taking them down into that childhood and supporting them and becoming more self-aware, more emotionally, sensitive to themselves, being willing to be kinder to themselves so they can open up their heart and their mind. And
Mhm.
the beauty is that, within a couple of months, they can really accomplish that.
That's great.
That doesn't mean other things won't come up, but they have the tools and the abilities to handle it as they do. But that self-awareness, that compassion for themselves, that those all of those new attributes, of course, are mirrored in their relationships with others.
Mhm.
They begin, like you're talking about, your mentors, taking care of others, and that becomes what leadership's all about, is really supporting, bringing out the best in others.
Mhm.
So,
Well,
yeah,
and what I find interesting is that the younger generations, there's a lot of attention right now and play on mental health and
right,
that kind of
right,
thing. And, the younger generations, Jeff and I talk about this, they won't put up with this sort of oligarchy and this like where there's one leader and this is my way or the highway and there's no life work balance and there's these are the old ways we do it, so these are the best ways. A
no,
lot of the younger generation just simply won't put up with that. They
no,
want to be integrated, they want their ideas to be respected and heard, and a lot of times they might have a better way to do it. But I think it's interesting now, yeah, in this multi-generational workforce we're in,
yeah,
these leaders have to these leaders have to
they have to,
and,
yeah,
and be aware of the differences in their workforce and such, because it's
yeah.
a lot more prevalent now than it was 25 years ago.
Absolutely. I mean, the Generation Z, I think it is, they're very clear that that's not going to work for them. And you have such a huge range of diversity. I mean, when you really think about it's just multiple layers of diversity coming into the workforce. And you have to be emotionally sensitive and aware. You have to
Mhm.
be able to communicate. I mean, I think that's your area. You have to be
Yes.
present and be a good listener. You have to be able to think and listen at the same time. You have to be able to trust that you can access your thoughts without struggling and coming from old patterns of thought. You have to be present to be able to do that.
Mhm.
That's where my work certainly comes in. Yeah.
I have
Sure.
a question too. So Jan and I talk about this a lot, and this is near and dear to Jan's heart especially. But we're in a workforce of four generations:
Mhm.
Yeah.
baby
Right.
boomers, millennials, Gen X, Gen Zers. How do you find that working within that realm? How difficult is that for what you're trying to do to create these leaders? Do you find it, daunting at times, or do you find there's a certain way to go about it?
You know, for better or worse, people come to me when they've got a challenge. I would love to be out there with a banner saying, I can support you in creating your optimal life and
Right.
optimal leadership. Come, let's go, but it's really when people are struggling, when people are having difficulties, that they're willing to kind of look at, well, what do I need to do? I need some help here. What needs to shift? What do I need to let go of that's not working any longer? And so I lost track of where we were going there. Sorry.
Oh, that's right. How do you deal with multi-generational?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really a matter of them coming in, and I find a great deal of ease in terms of once they want to change, I'm able to really clearly show them what's holding them back. They're able to really see that what they used to do was perfect for them and then,
Yeah.
Hmm.
but is just no longer functional, and so it's time for them to evolve, and that initially that's a little scary for a lot of people, but
Hmm.
it very quickly becomes an exciting personal development and leadership development journey that they enjoy. They enjoy a great deal, and they're looking forward to the next phase and the next phase every time. And
Yeah.
you know, they do become more self-aware. They do become, you see it, the benefits in their relationships with their spouses, with their kids, with their,
Hmm.
everybody. And it changes it literally. The work that we do is we're transforming their life
Hmm.
Yeah.
and enhancing their life on levels that they weren't even aware were capable of. I just sorry, I just started with a client just a couple of weeks in, and I noticed he was being hesitant, it's like, so what's going, I needed to kind of prod him along, if you
Right.
will, in supportive ways. But yeah, he was letting his old fears hold him back.
Hmm.
But as he began to see what his capabilities were, if he could let go and heal, then he got very excited. And I think that's our job, is to get people excited about the possibilities rather than resist change and embrace it and recognize that it's better for everybody.
Absolutely.
Well, I would think there'd be such positive feedback when you do include your team and when you do listen and when you do get positive feedback like that. Like, there's no comparison to being a leader that people are enjoy you leading them, versus being a leader that everybody's afraid of, or that old intimidation style. That's not rewarding
Yeah.
emotionally, internally. I wouldn't think. It's just
Yeah.
so.
Well, the fun part is for them to see that that's how they motivate themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That
Hmm.
they really don't give them, pats on the back. They don't say attaboy or attagirl.
Right.
They really see that there's a belief system in there that I have to, if I'm going to continue to grow, I have to kind of keep pushing myself and making myself, I have to judge myself. I have to be critical of myself. And those are tools that work for them to get to a certain level, but they don't allow them to get to the next level that they're really reaching for. They
Right.
Yeah.
have to learn to be kind and accepting, and they have to fall in love with themselves so that they can
Yeah.
open up their heart and mind. And, I know that's not very business speak, but that's really the
Yeah.
bottom line of where it comes from.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I had a client the other day that we was talking, and he was asking my advice. He wanted to talk to an employee that he wants to kind of tell him that he wants him to do a better job in the coming year.
Mhm.
And,
Right.
and so he kind of came to me. He says, "Yeah, I'm going to sit down with him and tell him, look, you haven't really been in the game here for the last year." And he kind of started ripping on him. And I go, "So what's your goal here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goal to
Yeah.
break him
You're
down,
gonna piss him off.
or yeah, or is your goal to pick him up here, right?"
Yeah.
I go,
Yeah.
"Look, we got to have a goal. Like, what's your goal?" He goes, "Well, I want him to really start, stepping up." I go, "Then tell him your expectations."
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and encourage them to do better with what
Yeah.
their expectations are, and get them to agree to those expectations.
Yeah.
Right? This is what we're looking for. Is this something you think you can do? And at the end, he's like, "Yeah, that does sound a whole lot better." It's like,
And I think also if you can help them be a little bit responsible for how they create uh,
exactly.
that person
Hmm.
being that way, because lots of times that's the case, is
Yeah.
that reacting to. all of our issues are created in relationship to other people, and they have to be healed in relationship to others also. And so, I think that's, I know I had a client who was, he was so enthralled by the work that I do. He goes, "Oh, I want to do what you do. I want to," and I go, you can do that by running a corporation.
Yeah.
You,
Yes, yes.
you don't have to go out and find clients.
Yeah,
There,
right.
all you have to do is really, you know,
Hmm.
take this awareness into your workplace, and you'll find that, I mean, I have people who find that they have after, they're worried about, oh, I'm going to have to do so much more work that if I move into that position, or
Yeah.
if I grow my company or anything. It's like, no, if you're really training your people, if you're bringing out the leadership abilities in everybody else, you end up doing less. You
That's
get to
right.
focus on the parts of the business or work or life that you
Sure.
really love. And so, they're, especially the ones that are have, a year or two within the work, they're just enthralled by their new lives and their capabilities, and that, they're not, my first book is called, what is my Overscheduled by Success.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's really written for people who, I saw it in leaders. They always had some project, some interest that they really were negating. And it really was a wonderful one that would really open them up and be helpful for others.
Right.
And so, yeah, but they were so stuck in, well, this was successful before, and so I'm going to
Yeah.
stay with it. You know, it it's about supporting people and getting out of their comfort zones and really
Yes.
learning to evolve,
Yeah.
learning to continue to grow, not just, take one jump up and then get stuck in that comfort zone. It's a matter of getting comfortable with yourself and excited about your potential in life. And yeah,
I know it's funny. I always say, some things, there's the old saying, right? Some things change and some things never change.
Hmm.
Welcome to the world of leadership where it changes every hour.
yeah,
Yes, exactly.
yeah. Yeah, I think, leadership used to be, you were a tugboat captain and nothing changed, and you could look, well, what did we do 5 years ago? And
Yeah.
Hmm.
well, this looks like something we've done before. And now you have to be a surfer on this wave that's just absolutely present with the constant and ever-changing circumstance that they're in. They have to be thinking, they have to be conscious, they have to, to be present on a level that I don't think we've ever, really
Really had before. I
afforded
don't think
people.
so either. Yeah,
And
I
I think
agree.
that's what makes this time in our lives in history here so much fun for me.
Hmm.
I wake up every morning thinking, boy, this is just a fun time. It's like the Wild West to a certain degree to me. It's like,
Yes.
we
That's
just
a
got to
good
start,
analogy, Jeff.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We just got to keep moving forward and just kind of going after things and seeing what works and what sticks and
Yeah.
but don't be afraid of change and don't be afraid of things flying at you and just got to keep moving.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was IBM did a study of CEOs around the world, high level, top level CEOs, and 70% of them really didn't feel like they could do the job because of those rapid change and
Yeah.
increased complexity. And,
Hmm.
and yet there was 7% who were excelling and really were being present and really enjoying all that change and complexity. And those seven were doing exactly what, my work, and I would imagine what your work is all about, is helping them heal the past so they can empower the future, so that they can be more present in their future, so they can also, just really embrace that change rather
Yeah.
than struggle against it. They can really, appreciate the things that, for me, whatever you're struggling with is really just nothing but an indicator that there's a part of you that's ready to be healed so that you can grow. And so, you just look for those indicators. Are you breathing? Are you
Hmm.
not breathing? Are you struggling with something or not? And rather than ignore them or push them away or be at the effect of them, you go, oh, those are gifts that you get to breathe into and go, okay, well, what part of me is ready to be healed so that I can access that part of me that I need to evolve and grow into that next level of, personal and professional ability.
Love it, love it, love it. Hey, Ron, we got to kind of cut things here a little bit, but I would like to reserve the right to have you back because this is a topic, A,
Yeah.
that's near and dear to my heart, but boy, I can't believe a half hour went by already.
Yeah.
It's just a great topic. Love your insight. Thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
If people want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
I would say ronstotts.com, the website. There's some good free material there that people really find helps them really get on the journey and move forward in their life. But if they want to chat with me, they can go to, let me cheat there, nextleveldiscoverycall.com, nextleveldiscovery.com, call.com. And I love talking to people. And it's not like a sales call, it's a discovery call.
Cool.
Yes.
Love it.
Really, what is your challenge? What is your dream? And how do we make sure you can get that?
Oh my gosh. So
Great.
you're touching my heart now, boy. I tell you, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again for being on the show. To all our listeners out there, just continue to do what you're doing. Keep striving to be the best you can be. We're here for you. We're here to support you. You can reach out to us at any time, Jeff at pullthechute.net, Jana at janalandry.com. And of course, go visit Dr. Ron at ronstotts.com and just go for the help, because that's the key here. We know you need it. We're here for you. So until the next time, stay safe and be healthy.